A new cap on the interest charged on high-interest loans is aimed at protecting the most vulnerable borrowers, but might it just leave some people out in the cold? Bruce Hodges is co-founder and CEO of Parachute. Bruce, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So the idea here of this federal cap is to keep the vulnerable from being preyed upon, but might it leave some people without getting loans at all because they don't qualify for lower rates from typical lenders?
No, that's a great question, Amanda. Our view is very simple, that there are 8 million consumers in this situation in Canada, and this is a great news story for them. They will have access to lower cost credit, which comes at a time when they need it most. We have sticky inflation, we have a housing crisis, consumers are stretched incredibly thin, and this will bring a lower cost of capital to them and give them the relief they need at this critical point.
So we hear from the Canadian Lenders Association, which of course is made up of some of the biggest high interest lenders in the country, including folks like GoEasy, that this will shut people out of the market, that will actually do more harm than good. You're saying that's not the case, that it will actually help?
Yes, fundamentally, that's correct. There's a quote on their site that 1 in 4 Canadians will no longer have access to legal or regulated credit, which we fundamentally dispute. We believe that at least 7 to 7.5 million Canadians will get access to lower rates. There may be a small number that find it more difficult to get access to credit, but then you also need to dive deeper into the reasons and what they are using that credit for. I would say that some of that is discretionary. If you look at the high interest lenders, they're using this for point of sale financing for ATVs, snowmobiles, electronics, and those are things that are largely discretionary. And some of that is not so bad if those low credit score borrowers are unable to borrow for those purposes. Similarly, the other argument that gets made is they show videos of people saying, well, I have to choose between fixing my leaky roof and paying my bills. Paying your bills at a 47% interest rate with the high interest lenders or 400% with the payday lenders is just not a solution that's going to be tenable. So on balance, we believe this is excellent news for Canadians at a time when they really, really need help.
And Parachute obviously operates in this space, Bruce. What do you do that's different? I know that you take a holistic approach to your borrowers that goes beyond just point of sale purchase, for instance.
Yeah, I think that's a really important question, and one that I think is not covered in the lobby around how are we going to get Canadians back to good financial health and what is the root cause. So we take borrowers that are at the edge, we give them a debt consolidation at a much lower rate, lower than even the new proposed cap, and coach them, guide them, and reward them for good financial performance to fundamentally get them financially healthy. And we've proven we can do that at rates well below the usury cap. So this is very possible in this environment.
So I guess that it stands to reason that you would argue that some of those biggest players could still do well financially, still make money by lending to people at lower rates.
100%. If you look at our biggest publicly traded high interest lender, they had a return on equity approaching 26%. I think 25.9% roughly. That's almost twice the largest bank. And a lot of people would say that the banks are overly profitable. There is significant margin, which is exactly why we're looking to disrupt this space. There's margin to be had here and great solutions to consumers.
Bruce, great to have you for this. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks so much.
Bruce Hodges is co-founder and CEO of Parachute. Time for the takeaway and what whistling past the graveyard looks like. When it comes to climate change in Canada, it's a politically charged subject. At the moment, the biggest shock point is the federal price on carbon, which this week went up by $15 a ton. In total, the federal carbon tax has added less than 18 cents to a liter of gas, but any new cost will be met with concern in an already costly environment. That there should be debate about such a policy is obvious. We live in a healthy democracy, and it is the role of opposition parties to challenge the status quo. But lost in the current debate about a carbon price is that Canada has a commitment to keep, namely to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and hit agreed upon targets in the years ahead. Abandoning those commitments would not be a small matter. Never mind what you think about climate change and Canada's role to play in averting it, we have a responsibility to the global community. And if we fail to live up to our promises, our small nation loses clout in the world. At a time when many countries are choosing to look inward rather than out, Canada has much at stake. We're a trading nation, and we depend on agreements with our partners. Even some of our closest trading partners are shifting their stance on trade in a way that could do serious damage to our economy and businesses. By abandoning our targets for emission reductions, we would risk isolating ourselves from the very community we need to be more closely aligned with. As for putting a price on carbon itself, economists are in general agreement that that's the best and fairest way to encourage us all to reduce emissions. In fact, the contortions our federal government resorts to in the form of rebates actually undermines the point of the thing. For better or worse, it is supposed to be painful or it doesn't work. Is there a better way to cap emissions or price in the real and complete cost to the environment of the choices we make? Maybe there is, but we sure haven't heard it from any politician so far. My takeaway? It's all very well to play politics and shoot down a government's idea, but when the stakes are this high, not having an alternate plan is the worst plan of all. That's Taking Stock for this week. I'm Amanda Lang. Thanks for being with us.